Yes.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from the previous meeting? There's JR with his cricket. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, second.
Moved by Cale, seconded by somebody.
Fred.
Larry, all in favor? Motion passed. All right, new business. Pete, you're up.
I'm Pete Davis, President of the Library Board. I think many of you are aware that we recently hired a new library director. I just brought her over. I want you to meet her. Her name is Shaylee Kruger. She's from Holyoke, and she has several years' experience as a librarian.
Excellent. Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome aboard.
Yes, thank you. Glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
She'll be coming in when you want somebody from the library.
Excellent. That's good.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank
It's
you.
good meeting you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks, Lon.
You
Thanks,
bet.
guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Pete.
Helen? Or is Bruce still coming?
As far as I know, I didn't hear otherwise.
Okay.
It's come to my attention in looking in the back room that we're almost out of St. Francis brochures.
Okay.
So I will pass these out so that you can refresh your memory as to.
Do you want to change anything, or?
Well, we need a few changes for sure. I did get an estimate from Publication Printers who did these before, and we did 5,000 before. This doesn't include any changes for shipping. I have no idea what that would be, but it shouldn't be more than $500 at the very most. But some of the changes that need to be made aren't great. We don't have that fall craft show anymore. And we have a change at restaurants. Parkville is closed, but we have 2 online coming up. And I've told them that we're probably going to redo this brochure, and they need to get me the name and the other information so they can be included in it. And then on the lodging, this is kind of a county list of what's available. If you can add to it or make any changes or anything, I would like to know so that at least I have it in the office. But I guess what I was wondering on the lodging, if we just go ahead and list, you know, what's been in there in the past, and then just put maybe a notation about the Airbnbs and kind of lump them all together. Some of them in the county, some of them are close to St. Francis, some of them are close to Bird City, but we definitely list the stuff in St. Francis, but we do have some in the St. Francis area that are Airbnbs. We don't have enough room to list all of this. So but if we did it that way, there would be enough room.
If you just listed them all under Airbnb?
Just put a notation, to check with Airbnb. And then, because I don't have all the information. If you look on Airbnb, it says, like, call Joe. But it doesn't say, they don't give any addresses. They might give the price and things like that, but there's not a lot of information really until you make a reservation, and then you can get more information. But if at least that it said to contact Airbnb for additional ones, then they could do that. And like I said, it's going to bring up everything in the county, but it would definitely include the ones in the St. Francis area.
I have a question, Helen. So some of these, like this basement rental unit, pretty sure they're not paying transient guest tax, so how do we find out who these are so that they pay the appropriate tax to
Well,
the city?
I think Amanda can do a great job of that, and then you can check. Now, the thing with Airbnb is that anybody that's doing an Airbnb, and that one is, that Airbnb, my understanding is they collect, and then they turn the money into the state keeps their 2% and then turn it over to the city. But I don't
That's
know if that one has
interesting.
been rented because there's no comments on Airbnb. But that's the only one that I found that's in the city limits. So anyway, the quote is good for 30 days, so I guess you can think about what you want to do and let me know. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them about that.
How many do we have left? The
Hmm?
brochures, you think?
Well, maybe 25.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've been really handing them a lot out, and we've got like 24 community kiosks or information centers, and they've been asking like crazy, and we're going through over 400 pieces of material up at ours. So, yeah, they're going good.
When was the last time we ordered, and how many did
We ordered 5,000 roughly 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And the price actually went up from there, and it's come down, so it's only a few dollars, or a few $100 difference.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't know about the shipping. I do know on April 1st, they said that the price of paper will probably go up again.
Yeah.
And it's been going like this. So
We should probably order 5,000.
I would recommend 5,000. They should last a couple years. And you don't want more than would last that long, because there's always changes.
So, here was that a motion?
Yes. Just 5,000.
And you said this does not include the shipping?
It doesn't include shipping or any artwork. And
But we're not changing anything.
so we're just doing the words so that, like I said, the artwork shouldn't be very much as a change. But the shipping, I don't know. I said maximum, figured 500. I don't think it'll be that much. And the last time that invoice came to the city, so I don't know what that shipping
And I
was.
can check.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, when you make your motion, make sure you make it for this plus shipping and handling, or shipping, yeah.
So, is your
We
motion?
should order 5,000 plus shipping.
Second by David?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
We're not looking at any changes, no?
Just the minor ones.
Yeah, just some minor ones, and what change pictures are good, but I think it's all good except for those few minor things.
Mhm.
The one that says St. Clair Equity, would that be now Stratton Equity?
There's two,
No.
there's two
That's
different
still the
ones.
same thing.
Yeah,
So,
It is?
it's two different companies, two different
Yeah.
businesses.
I have
Hold on, it's-
Stratton.
Yeah.
The special one that has notes or do they all have notes on them?
Oh.
No, I don't even know.
I need that. Like, this is my notes on here, yeah. So,
I don't even, yeah.
it's right on all of this.
Well,
It's been a long time. What I needed to do.
So are you taking out Park Hill, putting in Aldina?
No.
Right? No.
I'm taking out Park Hill, and I'm putting in two new ones that should have the information to me in a couple weeks.
Or is the El Jalapeno not going to be in there? Or-
It is, it's not in there. Well, if it's not in there, we'll add that because they weren't there when we did it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool.
And this is a letter that we might work 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Do you want me to take that now, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
So soon.
I didn't feel like reading it out loud to everybody, but I guess like.
I'm all right to say something. Knew it was coming. Lord, thank you for every little bit you've done.
You're welcome. Thank you for all your support.
You've made a tremendous amount of progress.
You're supposed to stay till December 30th. Well, now I'm going to have to change my plans.
Did it say 2030 on there?
Well,
It did say 2030, so April of 2030. You will be missed, Helen. You've been a good
Yeah.
phenomenal for this community and this town, and we appreciate all that you've done.
It's a great community and a great place to work. And I had a good time.
And enjoy
As
your
with Lyra,
retirement.
big shoes to fill.
You're going to be sticking around and hitting the road somewhere.
Anything else, Helen?
No, that's it.
Well, again, thank you for all of your dedication and hard work.
Best wishes.
Dan.
or maybe you thought we still
started
met.
at 7:30.
I'm sure I said 7, but
These pictures will make the whole episode. Oh, you're going to ask me to tell you what colors they be.
Y'all would. Oh, I see.
New filler?
The top two pages are basically the breathing air compressor that we have now for the fire department. The bottom one's one that I would like to purchase. The top one, for this older one, would go to Burke City, because they can fill, all they have is 2,200 pound cylinders. I have 4,500 pound cylinders that I can't fill full, so that's why I'm looking at this other compressor. Last year I pressed out a new one, just so you guys know, it was 21,000. I want 8,500 for this one used. Somebody down by Topeka, they closed out their fire departments, contract with somebody else. They said they wanted to go to a small department, so they priced it low.
So you're confident in the quality and everything? Have you seen it or anything?
But I know the guy that has it, we've done business with him before. Pretty trustworthy. Well, my plan would be, or I guess what I'm asking the council for, would be me a meal, but
Right. What about getting stuff like that fixed? Is there
there's people that fix it.
plenty of them out there? Yeah. I guess it's just a
It may be,
question, right?
the bad part about it is if a circuit board goes out, it could be $5,000.
Oh, yeah. It could happen on the road, too.
Yeah.
So newer.
But the nice thing would be we'd have air here in Virginia at that point, and if we had something going on over there. Right now, they have 3 bottles, like the 3 yellow bottles here, that's all they've got over there, so they can top off so many packs, and then they're done, and they gotta go fill them up, so. So basically, that was all.
That's it? I move to approve that.
Okay. Second by Larry, all in favor? All right.
That's all we got, unless you guys have something.
I have a quick question. Did you want to ask this to come out of equipment reserve or out of the fire department
Wherever
budget?
at.
Well, equipment reserve has more money than the fire department's budget.
I didn't even look at my paycheck, so where's mine? Equipment reserve, I guess, if that's, I guess,
I mean, that's, I guess you guys.
Yeah, I mean, no, I can just, if you talk about it and you want it to come out of equipment reserve, I can just make a note of that. Where it's equipment like this, I hate to see it come out of their department budget. So,
I know we've been cutting back for a month here too, and I think it took a hike up in this year, so I'll have to see where we can scrape a little or do something. Dropping it as you guys to scrape a little or. Okay, that's all we got.
Yep.
okay.
Bruce,
Hey,
just step right up.
Your turn for the Price is Right.
What time did you start?
7.
7?
7.
Well, here I thought I had 10 minutes to sit and relax. Well, okay, I don't. I am the new Art and Ken, Art Kruger and Ken Quigley represent.
Get to sit through some of those.
You what?
Some of these guys didn't get to sit through.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Enjoy that.
So anyhow, I am now representing the Senior Center.
Good for you.
And since I am a senior and I get to participate in the Senior Center activities now, including eating there 3 times a week generally, and I also deliver meals for the Senior Center, which is a treat. It really, truly is. So anyhow, I am here, one, to thank you for the check that we received 2 weeks ago, maybe? Is that what it was?
some on January.
Okay, so yeah, whatever. So it's been received, and thank you very, very much for that. Let me give you a little bit of what's going on at the Senior Center. Right now, it appears that we're doing well. We haven't had to do any major replacements. We haven't had to buy any equipment to speak of. And you probably remember that earlier there was an ad in the paper for cooks, and we have acquired a cook, a really good cook. I can't tell you her last name. It's either Henderson or Anderson. Di. How many of you know Di that lives over there? What's her last name?
Anderson.
Anderson, yes. Okay, I knew it was Swedish. But anyhow, she is the head cook, and Kathy Van Dyke is the assistant, and Keith and Cindy Dankenbring kind of run the show, and they do the book work and that sort of thing. But the meals there are really, really good. Apparently Di has had some formal training, and so the food is really, really good. Come out sometime if you have an opportunity and have a meal with us. And so, that's a little background. As I said, we haven't had any major replacements that we've had to make, and there's been just a few little things, and so we're doing okay with what we've got. Now that doesn't mean that that tomorrow we couldn't have a major incident, like a pipe break or something like that. But as of right now, we're doing okay. And again, thank you for the check that you sent. But this next year, it's, who knows what next year will be, even if the world exists next year. And so, we can't quit thinking about the future and what might happen. And, we've started having significant inflation, and, who knows where that's going to end up. So as you're preparing your budget that you'll probably be working on here in the next couple of months, will be that yet? Yeah, so as you're preparing your budget for next year, we wouldn't want you to forget us for next year. And with inflation and everything, who knows what will happen. And so I'd really like to ask for just $4,000 next year. Would that be okay? Would you be able to come up with something else to do with the other 4,000 plus? Would that be okay if we just asked for 4,000?
I'm very confused.
Well, as I said, we're doing okay. We've got some money in savings, and we have our meals. We take in a little money from that, and so I really think. And we've talked about this with the board. I think we can get by with half as much for next year. Would that be okay?
Gee, I don't know.
This year is, I think, 8,800. Is that right?
You're not concerned about
I'm new to this, but how many times
I'm
does this happen?
concerned about a cushion. Oh, never.
I think we've got a cushion. I don't know exactly what our funds are, but we've talked as a board, and we've got money. And if we could just take half next year.
Let me ask a quick question. What would happen if, for some reason, they get in a mind and need extra money and we didn't have it budgeted? Then what?
We could still budget for it,
Yeah.
give them half, and if you don't need the other half, then
That's what
at least we're budgeted that we can spend it if you guys would get it on.
Yeah.
that's what would make the most sense. Because
If
it's
you'd like to
already,
do that, that's fine. But please only pay half to start off with next year, because we are sitting okay.
Well, thanks.
Okay? Do you have anything you could spend that other half on?
No.
Nothing?
We don't have any potholes.
I told Lila, I said I was not going to mention anything. And I listed a few, and then she named a couple that probably would do well not to
Dan
mention.
needs a vacation.
Pardon?
You can send Dan on vacation.
Dan, yeah.
Fire department's been here.
Oh, yeah.
He was looking for his money bunker gear, so.
Yeah. There you go.
But thank you for your support. It's been very generous, and
Appreciate you stepping
and
in.
we appreciate your support a lot. But I think we can do with half. So however you want to do that, let's just start off with half.
I think we'll still budget it, and that way it's there in case need be, and we can give you half, and
Okay.
that sounds like, put that in the
Mhm.
notes, so we remember our budget like that. Or next January, when we make distributions. But that way it doesn't put us, if you guys get behind, we still have the
Okay.
authority to do that, and we'll go from there for following year.
Okay. Thank you so much
Thank
for all of
you.
that.
Bruce, before you leave, you want to take a quick look at this?
I would do that.
we were all a little speechless, actually. Am I hearing this correct?
I was waiting for the punchline.
Yeah.
There's no punchline coming. Trash labor applications.
Two renewals. Cody Crine, 1470 Road O, he has a building there he uses for storage. Waters his trees and grass, water there is for trees and grass. Then we have Cindy Sherlock, she has a building at 109 West Jackson, also just used for storage. And they're both renewals.
Mobile home park license.
We have one here for Eldon Kevin Zimmelman. He's got one home there still. It's right next to where Clay's got his RV park now. So it's a renewal.
Second.
Moved by Gail, seconded by Larry, all in favor? Motion passed. Van Shell Rental Special Event Permit Application for Western State Bank.
She didn't specifically ask to waive the rental fee, but typically in the past you have. Just for the Easter egg hunt that they always do.
Oh, that's an Easter egg deal?
Yeah, me too.
We waive it. We waive it. Yeah. What Kale said.
What Larry said.
Moved by Gail, second by Larry, third by David, all in favor. Beat Dara.
Make the motion up, Bob. Second.
They moved to approve and waive the fee.
When will you do that?
Let's see, designate KRWA voting delegate and alternate.
It's just something that we have to do every year per the bylaws for KRWA. Typically, it's JR and John. John goes to the training usually every year down in Wichita, and he is scheduled to go this year. So it's basically just a motion to appoint JR and John to this.
Moved by David. Second by Dara, all in favor? All right. Fire alarm specialist contract renewal.
This is something, it's a 2-year contract. I think you have an original and then a copy there for the city. It's for the power plant. We've had these folks for, JR's not here to talk about it, but we've had them forever. I think there's not a lot of people that do this work for us, but it is important, and it's, I can't remember how much it is.
$695 a year.
That sounds right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve? Moved by Gail.
Second.
Second by David, all in favor?
And there's just 2 there for you to sign, Amanda.
You need to sign it as council president or mayor pro tem or?
Yeah. Either one probably. Well, Mayor Pro Tem, that's his contract.
Property cleanup.
We have sent out, so I got my cases confused last time. We had not sent the summons to Tyler Lee. We had sent it to the other party. That case got settled, the one who owned it. We have sent out a notice to the new owner. That will be coming up here. I'm assuming the new owner has not cleaned it up. That same property that was transferred.
It's the same.
So we are going to be sending that out this month when we send out the Tyler Lee notice for the March court date, which is March 17th. So they will go out either late this week or early next week, the complaints and summonses. There's one more property that JR had let me know about. Dog feces, it's a second issue, and we are going to be addressing that via letter shortly. That's all I have.
Anybody else on property cleanup? Projects pending.
Did you get a more detailed, did you ever get that from Mr. Baxter?
No, I talked to
Okay.
him last week. I ran into him one day at the courthouse, but I didn't bug him about it because I knew he was supposed to be sending something. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm assuming I'll have something in more detail that we can move forward.
Perfect.
What's that on?
That answer, that letter, Holly, you sent that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did everybody get it? The email that I forwarded?
Sounds promising. Sounds like we have
Yeah.
sideline. And then we're in on the right direction. Thank you, Dan, for changing out the banners. Appreciate it. Anything else, project spending? All right, street project.
Don't have any updates. We're waiting, we should get money from the CDBG grant to pay the stuff that you approved at the last meeting. It should come by the end of this week. And, yeah. Nothing new on the new project, other than Larry had asked me if I'd gone to the CDBG workshop for the new CDBG grant, and I did. Nothing really important on that, except for the contract needs to be signed by April. So I'm waiting for the mayor to come back, and then we'll do it at a council meeting.
Building permits.
So there's one out there, but JR has asked me to pull that. The contractor has not provided their liability insurance to the city, so we're not sure that he has liability insurance, so we're going to punt that one.
Who's the contractor?
Yeah.
I bought that house on Nursing Home.
Mm-hmm.
Superintendent report.
I have out on the share, the link goes to this. He's got a quote for the trash cans that the council had asked about for on Main Street. So he asked me
I
to
had
share
no
it.
idea they were that high.
And I forgot to ask him if they ever looked at the one at the library that was no longer being used.
We can,
I know. Dan, do you know? There's a trash can there in front of the library that got moved to the south back behind there in the alley a year or two ago, and said if it's not being used at the library, it could be one possibly we could use on Main Street if we wanted additional, but I haven't followed up to see if it's. JR didn't sick you on that, didn't he? And JR didn't sick you on hunting down the trash can. Because I know it was out front, I believe, and then it got moved, and I don't know that. But new librarian, maybe they'll move. You don't want it, I don't know. I'll look and see. It's kind of silly to buy.
Why don't we talk to
additional ones.
I wonder somebody about just doing a concrete form and making a concrete receptacle for the bag and holes in the drain or something. It'd be way cheaper.
You're just talking permanent fixture.
Basically, yeah. I mean, you could move it, but it'd be really heavy. Wouldn't go over.
Where is this going to be going?
On Main Street. Remember we'd asked about additional
Yeah,
trash.
just if there's
receptacles?
specific locations.
No,
When we
why don't
talked
we
about
just,
this last time, did we have kind of a price in our mind that we were thinking?
I don't know that we had a price, but we were talking one per block, two per block?
One more per block, I think, was what we were, well, some blocks anyway.
Mhm.
Not every block. Like businesses, or blocks with, more walk-in businesses and retail, basically. Because they're always overflowing.
And it's this is what we already have, right?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, that's
Mhm.
what that looks like.
Yeah.
Am I going to have to move my flower pot?
Yes.
I like my flower pot.
Yeah, we'll keep looking at things, I don't know.
Well, it'd be nice to have them all uniform.
It would be, but
Mhm.
geez, $5 grand for a trash can.
6 trash cans.
6 trash cans. They're $6.90 a piece.
Oh, I thought that was each.
No, I think that's total.
$6.90 a piece.
Because it wouldn't surprise me.
6 of them.
Six.
So.
And
How many-
they're hefty duty
Yeah.
trash cans.
How many of the existing ones do we have on Main Street where the top is gone? About half of them,
At
isn't
least
it?
2 that I know of for sure. But no, I mean, those
2 are gone?
Two that I know of, for sure.
Who pulls the trash out of those?
City does.
So I think he's got those, maybe that's what the 2 replacement lids are for, are the 2
Yeah.
that are
Okay.
currently missing.
We only need one on one side and one on the other. Is that what we're talking about?
There's spots where it'd be nicer to have 2 on one side,
Yeah.
Two, okay.
Mm-hmm.
especially if
No,
you're
no,
in
no, no, no,
a whole
3,000.
block.
Yeah.
Because what's out there now? How many do you think?
I think there's only,
3? 1 per block,
not
alternate.
very many.
Yeah, there's not very many.
Maybe
There's one that-
5 at most? I really don't know.
Maybe we ought to check and see.
Yeah.
I don't like to try to see them, but if you don't, they don't look at the same, they don't look
I know. I mean,
really bad.
we have extra money now that the.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, they just saved
Well,
$4,000, so.
Right.
you have $242,000 some odd dollars in equipment reserve currently. But I know JR wants to buy some high dollar stuff.
Well, I mean, is this really?
That's what I was about to
To me,
raise
I'm like,
that.
this is more of a, some,
I don't know that it,
Supplies,
I don't
parts,
know that there's any
things.
argument that can be made that this is equipment.
I mean,
Or what would the trash bins the trucks use fall under?
that would be.
Yeah, it was
I
a
would
big-
think it'd be a small enough amount that we could just pay it and not dip into equipment reserve.
So out of general, it'd have to come out of general fund.
So we're talking 3 total?
Well, this is for 6.
Maybe more.
Just,
You-
Why would we need 6?
Well, I think we need to find out how many are actually there. I agree with Cale. I think there are spots that you need at least 2 per side.
Because there's one on the grocery store block, right? Just one?
Yeah.
Like
I
by
haven't
museum,
counted
there's one down
them,
by
I
you.
don't know.
And there's
I
one
just-
over on the other side by like the pharmacy, right? And one down by the post office?
There's one by the,
One close enough,
some by the pharmacy?
I thought there was one on.
I don't think there's,
I don't think
I don't think there's one anywhere on the
I don't think there's
block where
one
my
on-
office is.
I thought there was one.
That's why I was,
Out there.
that's why I was wondering about my flower pot, is because I didn't think, no, I don't think there is, because there's my pot and then Cody has a rail.
There's one over by the thrift store, I think. That's
But-
probably across the street.
I was gonna say, I don't think there's one on our side of the block. Which I don't know that, I mean, I don't know that for people going in that's, where are we doing it for people going in? I mean, I would think it would be more
Just anything.
for the thrift store.
People always empty their cars when they go into a business.
I remember when Bill was here and he brought this up, he was wanting us to hit more on Main Street. We talked about, I think, 2 that night, one on each side. I just wonder how we went from 2 to like 3 to 6.
See what we
Well,
got.
probably just,
And
maybe
John already counted them
and already figured it out.
Yeah.
Are there still oil trash cans mounted on the poles?
no,
They're gone?
those are gone.
And we're not replacing the ones we already have, right?
No.
Mm-mm.
We're in.
We can table it and take a look and see what we think
Yeah.
next meeting.
I'll try to get down there maybe over the weekend and take a look at it.
Okay, we will table that.
And then he also wanted just to talk a little bit about electrical infrastructure. He just didn't necessarily want any firm decisions made tonight, but he wanted me to share that he wants to move as quickly as possible to get Ward Electric contracted for more work this year. Currently, we have $374,890.14 in our capital improvement fund. And that's going to be for any capital improvements except for streets because we've got that covered elsewhere. And then the transfers during this year, which are done at the end of the year, is another 155,000 that we hope to be able to transfer into capital improvement at the end of the year. So that really depends on how everything else goes, how much we'll actually have at the end to move it back into that fund. So he just wanted you to have those numbers to think about. $200,000 at least is what he's asking for, and more if possible.
He's wanting to push ahead on that, I know.
So, I should probably, I'll send these to, I'll put these out on, do you want me to email them or just put them out on the share? This is just out of the budget books that just shows the transfers at the end of the year. And this is our fund status report that just shows the balance of all of the funds at the end of the year. Well, currently. Sorry, this is our current balance. And I guess also keep in mind we have the infrastructure sales tax that's coming in that's earmarked for infrastructure improvements as well. Currently, in that fund, and I think JR's intent with that is to earmark that mostly for streets, because we don't have any other revenue source for streets, whereas electrical we do. But that fund currently has $234,000 in it as well. But I think he wants that for streets. So, do you want me to send this stuff to you?
Sure. We can get that sales tax issue.
Yes, the state says that they are. So the issue was we weren't sure that the grocery store was collecting the right amount of sales tax, city sales tax, based on some receipts that Amanda had, and but the state says they are submitting the correct amount. So I talked to the owner of the store and let her know what we had discovered. It's not on everything. There are some products that the sales tax is not being applied to. So it looks like what's happening is they're not collecting the right amount, but they're submitting the right amount to the state based on their sales. So I've made them aware of it, and hopefully they can figure out it's got to be something in their cashiering that's not charging the sales tax on all the products. But anyway, I did talk to her. I can't think of her name now, but what is it?
Tammy?
That sounds right. And so she's aware of it, and she was going to let me know what she finds out. But
Isn't the state have, I think, voting on lowering it?
So that won't affect
tax, or-
yes, but that won't affect the 1% sales tax. So if they approve, at least my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong because you've probably heard it too, but my understanding is the sales tax that they're wanting to eliminate would be the state sales tax on food. Mm-hmm. But any local taxes would still be in effect. So and then it would be up to local entities whether they choose to also do that for sales tax. Where we're counting on that sales tax to pay our bond issue, it would be something that you want to think strongly about whether you'd want to get rid of it or not. Mm-hmm. So I don't have any way to know what percentage we're getting now is based on food and what's other things. I don't know how I would find that out. So. There's got to be a way. But anyway.
Is that all you had?
That's all I had.
Attorney report.
I did not get the statute, or the ordinance amendment we discussed last time, that we were going to change the notice requirement for property cleanups, so that way the second letter is kind of a final notice, and then the third time within 12 months is just an automatic citation. And I was going to work on changing the ordinance wording and submitting it to the council for approval so it could get published in full candor. I did not, because I was up to my present tax returns. So I have it tasked to do this Thursday, and I will get it emailed before the next council meeting. and we'll have it done. Sorry, I just couldn't get to it. But I will get it done. I don't think I have anything else. Municipal court was very quick, and I was not there. They only had one citation, and I wasn't required to go because it was the first appearance, so that should be good this month.
Hey. Maybe we're finally getting things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Give me a motion to approve. I didn't approve JR's, but
I suppose we always do.
yeah. So back up a step to approve the superintendent report. Moved by Kale, second by Dara, all in favor. All right. Do I hear a motion to, moved by Kale to accept the, seconded by Larry to accept the attorney's report. All in favor. All right. Court.
Okay. Out on the share is you'd asked me to get some feedback on the clerk link regarding what other communities, small communities do with the trash concern. So you can read them, you can see, and do with it what you want.
I like what the first lady said, just let them leave it out in the street.
Oh, yeah, but I think that'll work. But anyway, that's all. I didn't get a lot of feedback.
Well, isn't that street snow route?
It is to the hospital. Correct?
Oh, the one that we're talking about?
Is it Adams to the hospital?
I don't know.
Quincy,
I think it's just one block by the hospital,
you know, guys.
on Adams. Quincy is,
Quincy is,
all the way through.
but you guys don't do Adams up to the highway?
I think we
Ambulance?
have done it, but I think it's actually, the snow route is just like one block.
So they get
Right
built.
beside the hospital, but I think if it's open, we just do it all the way to the highway. Because they're gonna come in or out that way.
Well, they're gonna come down Quincy and for them to,
Right. That's how it used to be, unless it got changed. I haven't looked at snow routes for a long time.
I guess my question would be, why couldn't it be left
On the edge?
on the edge?
Yeah, exactly. Just leave it
I mean,
right by the curb. So in the street,
But
on the
I still think we're gonna have issues with, they have to carry it out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah, they carry it to the alley and carry it to the curb. And leave the trash can, right? It's only one bag, or however big the bags are at a time, so. Of course, this thing gets blown away too, but.
the city of Waukegan, we got the same complaints when we switched haulers and went automated curbside. You would have thought the world was coming to an end.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And like
they
JR
also
said,
said it evened out.
what's that?
They also said it leveled out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like JR said, the percentage of complaints we get are
Yeah.
small.
Although there's a lot of complaints about trash, I never thought there'd be so many complaints about trash, but.
This one with Waste Connections, they offer a haul-out service for seniors. Is that something?
You can't barely get drivers here.
Yeah, I don't think he'll
So
ever
you
do
don't
that.
say about that.
down by Wishbone.
Yeah, there's no way. Unless maybe a local church would do it.
I think Dan volunteered. I think I heard that out in the audience.
He was jumping up and down.
I know, didn't you see him out there going, please?
Pick up on that.
I think his last name starts with a B.
Is it?
I'm not sure.
That's right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I don't know what,
I just was sharing it with you so you had something to think about.
I mean, at this
If
point.
it doesn't calm down or whatever, JR can look into letting her sit right by the street, up on the yard. slab. Kind of pretty,
And light with gold.
like gold leaf, flowers
I
around
mean,
it.
I think it just, I think we've extinguished all, but it's at least nice to see that. We knew we weren't the only ones.
Right,
who did,
right.
so.
And there's been volunteers that have been willing to help too.
Mhm.
Next thing out there is a letter on, I call it a complaint, but it's not really complaint, it's a concern from some of the businesses. Probably should wait for JR to have any discussion about the contents of the letter, but they did ask that it be shared, so I've shared it. Ice is a problem on that
Yeah.
side of the street.
It is.
Definitely
It
a
is,
problem.
yeah.
But I think JR had some input on what they've tried to do and things like that. So anyway, just to let you know that letter is out there for you to read. Oh, Lauren is still back there. Okay. I'm glad you didn't leave.
No, I just had to plug in my computer.
The gun club brought to my attention that the lease that we have, so that they can lease that property out there, expired in 2012. So probably need to have Lauren look at it and get that renewed. And it is out on the share, Lauren.
Yeah, it's every 5 years.
Yeah, when that one was created
Yeah,
in 2007,
yeah.
and then it expired in 2012, and I didn't even know we had one. So
I didn't know the city owned it. Is it?
the land is,
Land is
and then
owned.
they lease it and run the gun club off of the land. Yeah.
Wow.
And the lease agreement is one of those. There's another someplace else that we have a similar one where they're supposed to pay us $1 a year. So it's just not really leasing it, but
Yeah.
so if the council approves having Lauren review that and then I suppose you guys should review it and make sure that it looks good. But
Yeah, just update and review.
mhm.
For insurance purposes, don't they have to have?
So I think they have to provide the insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't have that either. We don't have copies of that. So this is
Yeah.
really good that he brought it to my attention. So, anyway, just wanted to let you know.
I would suggest putting in a auto renew so something like this doesn't happen again. In the update the contract and put that it will automatically renew for successive 1-year terms of the termination of it unless,
Written notice that you've already
right,
language,
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Just basically, so we don't run into this. And then just also adding in, because I think it's if they pay $1 a year, plus any taxes or assessments levied against the property. But I think we would just put that when each year on the renewal date, they must also provide a copy of their insurance,
Yes.
a current copy of their insurance, just so that way we're making sure it's up to date and we're in compliance with our insurance. Yes.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
I will put notes in to do that.
Goodwill will be here Wednesday. The representative from Goodwill was in to the office to talk to myself and Jen also about the issues that we've had with the Goodwill trailer in the past. He said something kind of disconcerting. He said our community is actually the worst one that they have as far as that situation where people just dump stuff and put unusable things in the trailer. He said that the trailer gets full, but it wouldn't get full so fast if people would walk it in and put it to the back instead of stopping halfway, and then it just builds back because when they run into it, they're emptying it. The front half of the trailer isn't nearly full. I think he'd asked me to reach out to the thrift store to see if they had any volunteers that might be willing to look at the trailer every day and move stuff around in it to keep it so that it's easier to put stuff in, but I think they're too busy. I don't think they have.
How long is that trailer here?
It'll be here a week or until it's full. So he said they'll bring it back, But I'm bringing it up because in the past I would always come to the council and ask your permission, and then after a while I stopped asking permission because it was always, yes, they can do it. Are you guys still okay with that trailer being put up there? Is that still something you want to happen? I think people think it's the city's, because that's the response I got from the person I talked to at the thrift store, that it should be the city's responsibility to do that.
Where it's located,
Goodwill truck.
we now have cameras out there, right?
Yes, we do.
So has it gotten any better since the cameras put up?
I haven't had one out there yet, so this will be the first time.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just wonder if they will put a sign, or we could put a sign that it's under surveillance, so maybe, I don't know. I mean.
You know, I could put a sign on the trailer, they won't
I don't know.
mind.
Even inside, please move, I don't know.
people don't want to go to the junk
Put
shop.
posters in there that says, please move
That's what's
items,
happening.
I think they have a sign
Do
in
they
there
have
that
to
says
please move
that.
items to the front of the
Yes,
trailer? And
I
so
think they
full?
do, and
People,
it's
that
just-
doesn't surprise me.
but anyway, if you guys are still okay with them putting it there, they'll bring it back, and then this is kind of a trial one this time and see how it goes. They probably will not be bringing it back anymore after the Highway 36 garage sale, because it seems like that's where it gets abused the most. Yeah. And that, I think, that situation happens in other communities too, after that sale.
Don't sell at a garage sale for 3 days, so by golly.
Don't.
Goodwill needs it,
Yeah. So, it's coming March 3rd. What is that? Thursday? And it'll be here a week. Okay. I think that's all I have. Oh, no, the interview's tomorrow. Just to let you know, I'd said to try to be here at 6:45. Zoom, we only have, we're not paying for Zoom anymore, so we have to use Zoom Basic, which limits you to 40 minutes. It also limits you to when you can schedule the meetings, and it's only on half-hour increments. So it was either 6:30 or 7, and then for 40 minutes. And I had scheduled it with Leanne for 7 o'clock. So the meeting's going to start at 7. I've let her know that she should join 5 minutes later or so. And the way that it'll work is when we get here, we'll make sure everybody can access it here. And then she will be in what's called a waiting room if you've used Zoom. And I'll bring her into the meeting when you guys are all ready for her. So it'll 7 o'clock.
Interview questions and stuff.
Yes, if you want the same ones, I thought I printed them out.
Do you guys think?
Yeah, do you just want hard copies tomorrow of the questions?
That way, because if we're on Zoom,
Write notes.
that way we have them
You can
here,
write
and we
notes.
can write notes, and we're not trying to toggle back and forth.
Okay.
So what time's the second one at?
7:30,
Okay.
yeah.
And that one's also Zoom?
No,
Oh,
she is
she's
coming,
here.
she's coming
Is that
here.
Michelle?
Yes, yes. So, hopefully, Amanda and I tried the Zoom out on the Chromebooks, and it seemed to work okay. Cameras and my only concern is possible feedback in here where we're sitting so close to each other. And I think if that happens, we might just have to spread out, possibly somebody go into the office in there when we're actually doing the meeting, if that becomes an issue.
Or wearing a headset?
Well, if you have one. Does anybody have headsets?
No,
I
we
might,
can spread out, it's fine.
yeah. I mean, we've got several places that people could go to.
Bathroom. You just automatically claim that.
Yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure he did. That's what he does on the back.
We're putting him back there, in the very back.
Well, I don't know why we couldn't have 2 people per, if Darren and I sat here on one,
Yeah.
if we're
Yeah,
both
we could do
where
that, too.
we can share a screen.
Yeah.
Get on there to where she can see us both, and if we need to spread out.
Yeah. I think we've got some options.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just can't test it out until 7 o'clock when the meeting starts. So I will probably run it from my office only because it's easier for me to run the
desktop?
meeting from a bigger computer
You
than
can
on these
also
little things.
mute your mic until you're ready to talk or ask a question.
You can,
So,
yeah,
let's do that.
yeah. So, should be all right. Any questions for Anything else you guys can think of that you might need for these? Do you want, so since you'll be using your Chromebooks for it, do you want hard copies of their applications to look at during the
It
interview?
would just be nice where the one is on Zoom.
Just for that
To
one?
where, the other one, we could look online, but I think it'd be nice just to have hard copies that way.
Okay. Will do. Okay. That's all I have.
Do I hear any questions for Lila? Not going to hear a motion to approve and accept the clerk report. So moved. Moved by Dara,
Second.
second by Larry, all in favor? Council comments. David? Nothing? Hale? Dara? No. Larry?
I just would like to ask permission from the council to run a pass-through grant. If we apply for a grant for a concert in the park, it'll run through the city like we have in the past.
Any objections?
We need a motion.
Is that motion? Gail? Second by David, all in favor?
Thank you, guys.
We should note for the record that Larry abstained from voting.
And do you have any idea, Larry, the amount that you'll be applying for?
Probably 1,500.
The only thing I have, Lila and I talked a little bit this morning about the discussions that Lauren and Cody and Lila and myself had with, the way things are handled, how we're trying to streamline municipal court and streamline that. I know I'm waiting for language.
You're good, you're good, you're good.
Anyways, Lila had a little bit of an issue with a form letter that we had decided was going to come through City Hall. And I guess you had maybe direction that it not be heard personally as maybe as the council of the city or...
It was, so the letters that got sent were the ones for the court cases for the dogs and for the registration for the dogs. And you may recall reading it, it basically did say you had 20 days from the date of the letter to get your dog registered, and if you didn't, then it may go to municipal court. One individual was upset about the letter. She thought it was threatening. The letter does have my name down on it, that it's coming from the city clerk. And if we're going to send all these letters out, I feel it gives the city clerk a really bad appearance. Where it's a council directive, I feel like it should maybe just say that it's from the city council. Or just City of St. Francis, if that's okay with you guys. Yeah. And we're not sending these out to lots of people. Like I said, we just sent them out to the ones that had court cases that we knew about. That's another thing to think about. I have concerns about the dog letters and the dog registration letters, and how is it going to be determined that these letters are going to be sent? I think we need to be careful about how that determination is made, because you don't want a neighbor turning in a neighbor and then us sending a letter. It's going to be a bag of worms.
And dogs in general get very hairy with complaints and neighbors calling and other neighbors, and we never really discussed details or get the council's direction as how far we want to push them and how, just concerns on you get neighbors settling on neighbors or, I don't know. It's a very hairy subject, and
it is.
We didn't really discuss the full council.
Are you talking about the letters that you're sending out are for people that are not getting their stuff registered?
That's what the intent of the letter was for dog registrations. But the only ones that we sent them out were ones that had court cases last year, and this was just like because you had a dog case, we became aware that you didn't have your dog registered. But these letters could be sent to anybody, but I'm...
You don't want to send out letters to every citizen in St. Francis, because not every citizen is a dog owner, but yet how do you pick and choose?
That's where it's.
Dogs get very hairy in a hurry.
I feel like with that.
But didn't that yellow sheet go out with?
Yes, everybody
Yeah.
got the notice in their
Right.
bills, and I think that's part of the reason this person was upset also was because she said, well, you sent the notice in the bills, and we did, but this one was, and we explained to her, Jen explained to her that it was because she'd had the court case, and she understood. But that just made us start thinking about when are we really going to do this? We don't want. Dogs are a problem, and it's not just dog registrations. It's the barking dogs. That is really. I don't think the council talked about what's the guidelines going to be for barking dogs. We did in our little meeting a little bit that they would use common sense and personal opinion. Right? Isn't that what they said?
They issued a nuisance complaint for a barking dog. They issued 2 nuisance complaints for a barking dog and did not issue a complaint when a dog attacked another dog and bit somebody. So what common sense is over there, I have no idea. And I mean, just speaking bluntly.
Right.
We had 2 nuisance cases for barking dog, and then a dog attacked somebody and they didn't think that was worthy of issuing a ticket.
And you're worried because people see.
I see issues with neighbors turning into neighbors we have a noise complaint. I can blare my music from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, but I can get written up for my dog barking. I just think we need some sort of common sense or some sort of maybe directive from the council as how far do we want to push it?
Yeah,
Because
we're
you
not
get
careful.
people turning in.
Tail can start wagging the dog.
I know. We
Yeah.
don't want to make it into a real.
I've heard of one individual who has said that they can't afford to be another, they can't afford, I should not say another, but they cannot afford a court case. It's $158 if they go to court for a dog that's barking. And they would.
Because there's a cat in the yard or a squirrel
Right.
in the yard, or there's a dog at large running down the street that
A dog's going to bark.
Yes.
At what point do we want to control all the dogs? They're animals. They bark at different things, and
I think they need to have guidance as to what
I think they do too.
the
I wish
council
Cody
considers
would have
a
been here, and
problem.
Agree with that statement.
I think the council, I don't know if we want to think on it, and maybe the next meeting, if Cody's here, have some thought as far as how.
Yes.
Again, I think we
want to
probably
push
need to have just about every scenario thrown at us, and we need to try to come at this with as much common sense approach as we can.
They're animals, they're dogs.
I have just, I guess, something, it specifies that the penalty, unless otherwise specified, the court case costs is $158 in the ordinances. But there's another one that specifies traffic violations are only, the court costs are $50.
Because they're traffic.
Because they're traffic. And so I guess my, not suggestion, but just something that the council could consider is making dog cases maybe not $158 for court costs for ordinance violations.
But even that aside, if a dog's just, it's the barking thing that's got to be, when are you going to issue that ticket, My dog barks because there's a cat in the yard. Yeah, there's lots of cats in the neighborhood, so it barks a lot. Are we going to give that person a ticket? How do you decide, how do they decide who's going to get a ticket for their dog barking? What are some guidelines?
I don't know.
Well,
but that
does
also.
The person the cat is loose, does that owner get cited for,
See, we don't have anything
we
on
don't have
cats
anything on
other
cats.
than the number of cats that they can keep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Lauren.
Do we have some? I mean, we should have something on that you can't leave a bag of cat food out to feed the hungry kitties.
Which I think there is. I think there is something. I thought Cody had mentioned there was something about not feeding feral cats. No?
I think everything that's been done on that has been. I know that what was my instance. What was done was it was a health concern. It was a public health and safety issue, because one of those cats was not it had something. So that's what that was done under, but I don't know. I can look into it. I mean, I agree with the barking dogs, and maybe what that is.
Well, just because a dog barking is a nuisance to Hale might not be a nuisance to me, but might be an irritation to Larry, but not to the extent of issuing a ticket, and I just don't know.
I grew up in a town of 380-something thousand people, and so, I mean, dog barking violations just were non-existent, because how do you control that with that many people? You just can't. I mean, one dog starts barking, and the whole block starts barking.
Now I can
So-
see, like you said, at night. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So, I don't know. I mean,
But you got a dog barking all night long just keeping somebody awake. I
That's
mean,
a different story.
Right, there's a difference
Yeah.
between a dog barking at 2 in the afternoon and 2 in the morning. I mean, that I feel like would be common sense. There's a difference between during the day.
But Lila's got a point too, of how do you determine that that's happening?
how do you say these are the guidelines that we want you to, you can't just say common sense. Well, like I said, it might be a complete annoyance to somebody, but the next person's judgment.
Especially when we don't have coverage at late hours of night.
Where do they have anywhere to take dogs?
Which
If
is
they're
something
large.
else that the city
Needs
probably needs to look at. We don't have a dog pound anymore. I did look into it with the guy from Department of Ag. It's a not quite $300 fee for him to come out and do an inspection and tell you what needs to be fixed. He also sent me the Pet Animal Act, I think it's what it's called, that has the guidelines of what a pound requires. When Darryl was here, he said it was going to cost too much to get that pound up to snuff. And who's going to take care of the dogs?
Who's the staff?
So at that point, we decided to just not do it. And Cody's telling us, though, that we cannot use the vets anymore, that Judy doesn't want us
Judy
work.
doesn't want them unless they are vicious, because then she needs to monitor them because if they have rabies or that kind of stuff. So if it's a dog bite, a vicious dog, that kind of thing, she will take it.
Yes.
But Joe Blow's dog's running down the street, and it's been the 5th time that they've told him he needs to, keep his dog chained up, pinned up, whatever. They have nowhere to take that dog at large that's just roaming the streets that are causing other dogs to bark that we're writing tickets for. That's just
Yes.
like,
Yes.
there's got to be some sort of.
And I just know from,
What was the thing before? How long did they keep them in the pound? Because from talking on, I don't think they even had the pound, so.
Well,
Pound hasn't been, it was
So-
shortly after I got on.
I didn't know how long they kept 'em.
Would an increase in fine reduce the dog at large problem? I mean, as far as that goes, because right now it's 25, then 50, then
But
75.
the problem is, dog at large, I don't think those tickets are being issued because they have nowhere to take that. Isn't the threat of it is we are going to impound your dog if it's at large. We have
Right.
nowhere to impound it, so how do we had that issue with the
Can't
letter.
be
that
The
we
threat
were
is
going to
it may be impounded. So the ordinance is it may be impounded. It's that it's a $25 penalty for the first time, $50 penalty for the second time, $75 penalty for the third and every other time after that, and it may be impounded. And you are if the dog is impounded, then you are responsible in addition to those fees and court costs. Then you are responsible for all costs and charges incurred for the confinement of the animal. But I don't think it's not a mandatory, we're going to impound this animal. It's we may impound this animal, and you'll be responsible for the costs, but you're getting a ticket for $25 or $50 or $75.
if they know who the dog belongs to. So what if they get
They
a
don't
dog
know.
that's not tagged, they don't know who it belongs to, what do they do with that dog? Turn it loose.
Well, yeah, that's.
Because they don't have any
Right.
place to take it.
Right.
And
If there's a loose dog in my yard and it's making my dogs bark, and I call dispatch for a dog at
Post it on
large.
Facebook and say whose dog is this. Somebody will comment. Take it to that person and write him a ticket.
But if they don't, I mean, what do you do to alleviate the issue of
That dog's still around.
there are other people that are
I just, the pound we had before did not work. Why? Was it strictly financial?
No,
No.
it had some, it needed air conditioning that worked. It didn't have,
There is
I don't know if, Dan, if you remember what the complaints were about, and I have the report of what it was, and it was just things that
It needed to get up to compliance.
Yes.
Because I know from law enforcement's perspective, it's extremely frustrating that let's say you're on a case and you're working this case, you've been working this case for a while, and you're trying to come down to the end where you can get enough evidence to get this case wrapped up, and all of a sudden you get a dog call, and you got to leave that case, and all the evidence you just gathered probably going to go down the tube because you have to go take care of a dog thing. It's extremely frustrating, you know. So I don't know what we do, how you handle that. It's not like the dog is not important. You got to take care of it. But, so.
Do we just do, I mean, is there just a rule that if the dog is barking between 8 and 10, it's...
Well, so like, we have a noise complaint, so we can
Right. I
play
mean,
music from 8 to 10, but...
And is there anyone that has the doggy daycare thing, you know, that you drop off your dog and that would, you could, you know, pay them here?
I don't think so anymore.
that would be good. But you couldn't,
Did you
because I
just
mean,
volunteer?
you couldn't. I don't think you could have a doggy daycare because we did away with having a kennel license.
Oh, yeah.
So there,
That's not a...
Yeah, you could.
the statute, the ordinance reads that it shall be unlawful for anyone
That's
to
right.
keep or harbor, and even if you're doing it temporarily, you are harboring those dogs. You are in violation of the 5 or more rule if you have a doggy daycare without a kennel license, and there's no kennel license.
Within the city limits.
Within the city
something
limits.
beyond the city limits.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Something that if
there's
anybody ever
Janet
wanted to
takes
put
her
a
dog,
doggy
well, I don't know
daycare.
if it's like a runaround place. Janet used to take Ruby up to the Holla Dog, and Megan Douthat Downey has like I think it's more boarding, though I don't think it's like doggy
I don't know
daycare.
if they have that one. I don't know.
I don't know, Janet
Yeah,
took Ruby, and Ruby hasn't been around for a while.
but, I mean, there is no doggy daycares, and
Right.
that's another...
Well, there's a dog park. Take your dog up there, let it run. Get its wiggles out.
Pick up the poop.
I mean, I think we have a noise ordinance that is 8 to 10, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
8 to 10, 7 to 10, something like that. Is that?
I think it's 8 to 10.
I mean, I mean, I don't know what the difference is between blaring music and a dog barking. I mean, I'd rather listen to a dog than some genres of music, if I'm being completely honest. So
That comes down to
personal.
who's the officer on duty that day. Is it a nuisance to him, or because the next guy on duty, it might not be a nuisance to him. Might be a nuisance to one neighbor, but not the next neighbor. So I'm just like,
Yeah, I could feel that.
I know, you and I.
We had Mary Ockens played in our backyard there about 6 years ago every day. You just listen to it. I mean, because that's what you did in Dallas. And I wouldn't even begin to think I'm going to pick up the phone and call someone to complain. I mean,
yeah.
people have too much time on their hands in it. I don't know.
I don't know even where to look for that. It was in the...
I mean,
Is it not in Chapter 11, Public Offenses? I think it's
Well,
right.
that's where I was looking for.
Sometimes, too, you need to have multiple complaints from different people
Yeah.
and not just rely on one individual. before you can
Maybe we
actually
should
make-
require video footage.
I think you could get,
Of dog barking?
Yep.
you could get...
Doggy
Now you
TMZ.
know which dog it is.
Well, see, that's it too, because sometimes there's multiple dogs in a neighborhood, and the neighbor may think it's the dog that belongs to so-and-so, but it really belongs to this person.
The video evidence thing is going to be an issue if, that's a whole can of worms of, if I'm videoing into my neighbor's yard, or my neighbor's videoing into my yard.
You
but-
use my neighbor's yard and then, you know.
I mean, that's a whole other, I mean, I think it's,
See this can of worms you opened up?
Yeah. I think we should close it. Talk to Cody about it.
Do what?
Talk to Cody about it and see what he thinks.
I think, I mean, as far as what it needs to be, I would think it would be the same as a noise ordinance.
Yeah.
If,
You can't have one that, you can't be issuing tickets for a dog barking, but yet somebody can play music
Yeah.
from 8 to 10 o'clock and not be in trouble.
Is it in UPOC instead of here?
it might be.
I don't know that you need to.
Spent a lot of time looking. I won't do that now.
We have the gist of, there's a noise complaint. What the hours are, I don't know that it's,
There's a meeting.
I can research that myself.
And I would
Yeah.
never guess right what would have been-
Are you gonna look for the UPOC?
Yeah, like tomorrow or something.
so, anyways, I mean, as far as the letter, I think it's all right to go ahead and just put
From the council,
the council.
or just City of St. Francis.
Yeah, City of St. Francis.
Okay.
And I guess that we can, maybe the next meeting, maybe we'll be here and get some insight as far as dogs barking or how hard we want to pursue that, because that will be something we'll have to give direction to him as far as.
It's like a noise complaint. Let's see where it is. Yeah,
All right.
everything's really bad, sure.
Okay. You look at the abandoned vehicles on snow routes, Ellie Landby, and everybody.
The
We worry about barking
ATVs.
dogs. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I have. Crickets, where's Jared? There's crickets.
Yeah, I know. Were you the last one?
Mm-hmm.
Weren't we on council, Connie?
She's the mayor.
Yeah.
Stand up. Everybody.
Yeah, no, I went to them, I'm acting
Did you?
mayor, so
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
they're done.
You fell asleep for a moment.
Right.
Yeah. Remember Larry had something?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Okay.
nobody's gonna stand up, so.
Ah,
Larry?
Larry's
move
the
to
winner.
And David seconded. Well, I don't know where this came off of.
It came off one of these, I
I
think.
know, but I don't know where.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I don't know if it's replacements
I think
or-
there's, I
Yeah,
think,
maybe.
I was cleaning up in here and there was 3 or 4 of them, and I may have just laid them over
There was one
there.
over here on the floor, that's where I picked that one up.
All right, see you guys in 2 weeks.
What's that?
Except me, I'm going to be on vacation.